everyone. I'm Melanie with Paint and Crafty, and tonight is Tuesday Night Live Draw Along, and so I'm going to be walking you step by step to do this tutorial on how to create this kind of a folk art, whimsical style drawing for a fall little cute drawing. And then I'm going to show you at the next step, I'm going to show you just a simple watercolor technique to be able to add the color to there. I have a little bit of watercolor metallics that we're using on here for another fun look. So we're going to be adding a little bit of that. I did a really dark background to make that yellow kind of just really pop from the pear that's on there. So it's just a kind of a whimsical drawing where you've got the little church and the little lambs and the pumpkins. Just a sweet little drawing is what we're going to be doing this evening. So I'm going to switch you around here. So let's go this direction. We're going to switch you up. Hello, Tarita. Thanks for popping on. We're going to switch you this way so you can see big and be able to draw along. So this is what the watercolor paper, I never know when people jump in if they've been watching for very long, but this is the watercolor paper I use, Canson, and it's the 140-pound watercolor paper. It's still considered a student grade watercolor paper, but it works really great. That's 140-pound. Write down this is what you're looking for. A 9x12 pad is what I use. And this is a great watercolor paper. You can get some great looks on there, not only for just beginners, but for experienced watercolorists as well. This is a great paper. I say spend just a tiny bit more money for your watercolor paper, and then just use the watercolor that you can afford, the actual pigment, the watercolor part. Hello, Carrie and Donna and Tarita. Thanks, ladies, for popping on tonight. Let's take a look at this little sweet drawing. Hope everyone is doing well. Face blue smiling. Great. This is the drawing I'm going to watch you step by step through tonight. I always start with an X in the middle of my paper. And that's just going to be able to help me show you exactly how big I'm drawing my items and kind of proportionate wise. This is a 5.5 by 5.5 square drawing. So it's a nice little size. It's great to add into a frame and to be able to hang up. If you ever find a little frame that you like to display your things in, just measure that and then use that as the idea of what maybe you would like to have your little drawings in, because they're great to hang out for a while and not just keep them in a book, to actually display them. So let's take a look here. We've got this pear shape that's going to be drawn here. We're narrower here. We're going to curve it in about at that the middle area of our paper, and then we're going to come out with a little bit wider area. I came pretty low here on the bottom since I was drawing it fairly small. Hello, Cindy. If you're drawing longer and skinnier, maybe you want a taller pear, just draw according to what maybe might fit your paper the best. So let's go ahead and start with our pear shape. So this is going to be the top. We're going to be up here. I drew another line right here so to give you an idea. So here's the center. And if you look, this is about half of this next area. So you're going to have a small part up a little bit higher, and then we're going to start curving. So let's go ahead and draw this little pear shape. So hopefully everybody can see. Give me some, or let me know if you can see fine. I don't know who's watching. We've got some watching from Facebook and some watching from YouTube. So I appreciate both groups coming on in tonight. So let's start with an upside down U shape. This is going to be the top of our pear. We're going to need enough room to be able to put some sort of stem. So we're going to come right around. Now, if you're doing this at home, you're going to want to do a little lighter pencil than what I am. I just want to make sure you can see what I'm drawing. I did not do a lot of pen work on this. I kept my pencil there. So I'm going to draw a little bit heavier, but when you're using your paper, you'll do a little bit lighter. So this is going to be my first one. That's going to be this shape here. Now we're going to start coming out just a little ways, like so. If you think of like maybe a ghost figure, we just got done drawing Halloween. Now we're going to move on a little bit to the fall. So we're going to come out, or a little bit of a bell shape. So now we kind of got a bell shape going on. Now we're going to come out even a little bit more. So we're going to come around, and then we're going to give it a roundish bottom. So we're going to come out, and then we're going to do this roundish bottom right here. Now it doesn't have to be completely even on each side. Just look at your pear. I'm going to come down, and this time I think I'm going to come up just a tiny bit and then come back down. So you can have that little bit of a dip there. With the tree up today and decorating tomorrow. Hello, Christmas. So you can go just a shape like this too. You can actually go a little bit all the way around that way. So let's go ahead. Now we're going to go ahead and put our hill in here. So this is where our church figure is. If we figure here's our half line. Let's take a look here. I'm thinking this is about halfway. A little bit higher than halfway, it looks like. So let's go ahead and put that next little bit of hill. So you're just going to need to have enough room to be able to get some words in your church in. I'm going to look here. I'm going to do just a light line of about halfway over and make my hill. So I'm going to be coming up this way, doing that upside down U shape. We're going to come around and then back down. Okay, that should work. I think I like that. Now let's go ahead and add our church in first. So we're going to be doing our church. If you notice, my lights are kind of shining a little bright. We've got all of this stuff. I'm going to draw this in a little heavier with my pencil so you can see it a little bit better. I have this little centerpiece here. If you center that up on that center line, it's kind of a V, upside down V shape is what we got going here off to the side. And then we're going to build our roof and the side of our church on each side. So let's put our centerpiece in first. We want to leave enough room over to the side to be able to put a couple trees in, some big pumpkins. This is that whimsical folk art style. So these pumpkins don't make any idea of what makes sense for what the size of the sheep are. We're just going to have some big old pumpkins in there, and that's just going to add that little bit of whimsicalness to it. Hello, Terry. Thanks for popping on this evening. Let's go ahead and do our church. So we're going to come right here. I'm going to take a look right up here. I'm going to put a dot before I get to my next line up. Then I'm going to do that V shape, upside down V. So we're coming down this way and off to this side too. So it's just a simple little shape like that. This is where the cross is going to be up here. So that's where your cross is going to be. Now, if you want to, go ahead and erase what's in the middle. Open that space up so you can take a look at what you got going on. Now, let's go ahead and drop the door in. The door is going to be the same shape that I just drew this in. That's how I'm going to make my door, too. So I'm going to make sure it's a nice, tall church door. So it's coming up and it's going to come down. So you're just copying basically the shape that you just put on there. Now, to do a little bell tower up there, you're going to have a flat bottom right here, and then it's an upside down U shape. And there you've got your little bell tower right there. Now let's work on our roof line. So this is going to come out on each area off to the side and then down. So let's take a look here. I'm going to come out with my roof. I'm going to drop down. It's not as tall as my steeple up here in the front part. I'm going to come up this direction. So basically you're creating like a house roof, just like when you did when you're drawing a simple little house. So we're going to come up. There's going to be my little roof line. Cute as can be. That, I think I got to make this one a little bit longer. I need to bring it down to, see, I made it down to this line. I need to kind of copy that and bring it down to my same on the other side. It's still not quite right. I maybe need to change the pitch, as they say. This direction, make it there. That looks a little bit more like it's even, more even. And then I'm going to come in just ever so slightly so it's not the same width, or I want to have the roof hanging out just a little ways. And then I'm going to come straight down and touch wherever my hill is. So I'm going to come over here and go straight down and then touch. Now we need a center line for our door. And usually I put a round circle for a handle. Then just throw some skinny little windows in for church windows, tall skinny ones. Down we go, over, whatever might work in there. Over, up, and then I just did a high crossbar, a low crossbar, and then one all the way through again, just to create a little bit of a church window. Look over on your other one and kind of just eyeball it to see where you drew those ones on there, and then just try to replicate it and bring it down. They don't have to match. This is just very much a little whimsical style, country style, a little bit of a church. Hello, Pat. I'm glad you're here. You're here again. Hello, Facebook user. If StreamYard pops up and asks if you want to allow them for people to see your name, all you have to do is approve it. That's all they're asking permission for, is just to show your name. Facebook requires that to be able to do that for streaming services. So if you agree to it, it'll pop up your name. I'll be able to see who's on. So let's go ahead and put the trees in. So you can kind of see these are, I call them little Dr. Seuss trees. They're rather tall, skinny little trees with little puff balls on the top, not a lot of definition. And they don't even necessarily have to be correct. They could be slightly slanted, but it looks good to have them close to your church. So let's take a look here. I'm going to start with my little puff ball first, and I'm going to come up a little bit higher with my puffball, cotton candy kind of tree, and then come back down there. And I'm going to make this one slightly shorter so they're not the same height. It's going to come around. These can be just however they might fit, whatever fits for your tree. Then I'm just going to make a straight line down. And when I get close to my little hill, that's when I'm going to come out, flare out just a little bit. Kind of like when you drew trees in school where you had that skinny little tree thing and then it kind of slanted back up and touched your little line right there. So that's going to give it a little bit more tree. I can see I can make this one a little bit bigger at the top. That kind of a little bit too pointy. There, that looks a little better. So I'm going to come over here and take a look. I'm going to go straight down. And when I get close to my hill, I'm going to curve it around and touch my hill wherever it might be. Come down here and do the same thing. So I'm going to curve it, touch my hill. I should probably decide which line I want. I had quite a few lines on there. Which line do I really want? Okay, that looks good. Now let's go ahead and put our next little pieces in. I drew, let's bring that up there. I still need to figure out how to get rid of those little names down there so they're not in the middle of my drawing. I would really like that gone there. You don't need to know that I'm painting crafty or I'm Melanie. I would want you to be able to see the picture better. We're just going to make some simple big pumpkins. So some really large pumpkins is what's going to happen here. The key to this is that you might even need to turn your paper sideways a little bit because you want it to still follow the hill. That's going to give it that whimsical look. I'm just going to start with a circle. And if I go over my tree, that's fine. It'll just be behind the pumpkin's going to be in front and the tree will be behind. So I will just erase whatever's in there. If there's something that goes over my pumpkin, I'll just erase it so I can make my pumpkin in front. Then all we're going to do is do that little piece here where we're going to put another little piece in right there in the middle. And there's our little pumpkin. And I'm going to put a little stem on and maybe a little twirl. I'm going to leave a lot of my pencil marks this time around, so I'm not going to be erasing a lot of pencil marks. Now let's go. You've never been asked before. Oh, yeah, it should pop up. If it does pop up, that's what they're asking for. Now let's go ahead and put our little sheep in. So we're just going to do a little bit of a puffball shape here for a little sheep. We've got a tiny little triangle shape for a head, upside down triangle. There's got two little ears that are coming off and then just little legs. That's all there is to the little sheep shape. The sheep shape. Say that fast 5 times. That's all there is there. So we're going to create a little sheep shape. So I'm going to come here and I'm just going to do a little puffball. It's going to be smaller than my pumpkin because I wanted that big old pumpkin look. I'm going to put my triangle shape into my little puff shape that I did. So I want some of it to go in there. So like that would be my face. So it's not sitting off always. And then there's a little bit of an ear and then there's 2 little legs. And that's all there is to the little tiny sheep shape. Did you see, were you able to see that? The little puff that's on there? That's a little puff all the way around, but my upside down triangle is sitting inside of my sheep. There's a little ear here and a little ear here. And that's how we create it. Now let's go ahead and do the other side. So we're going to create another pumpkin. I'm going to turn my paper so I can get my circle on there. Okay. So here we go. We're going to do a nice big pumpkin. Round circle. Like so. And then we are going to come in and add that little middle section. These are just little simple pumpkins. Then we're going to be able to do a little top, a little bit of a curl, and we have our little pumpkin shape. Now I'm going to throw another sheep in there. So I'm going to do a little puffy little space, our little puff cloud, like so. Put some legs on there, upside down triangle, and an ear and an ear. Cute as can be. Cute as can be. Now let's go ahead and put some, I'm going to just put out on mine, give thanks at the very top. So I'm just going to, I'll probably start over. It'll be in front of my trees or a part of my trees in there. So I'm just going to write give thanks on there. So I'm just going to pop up here. And I think I got them all spelled correctly. I think spell checkers, look. You know me and my spelling. It doesn't take much to throw me off. Okay, and I think I can pop that in there ever so slightly. It was a tight fit. but I think it will work right there. Now we're gonna go ahead and put a bow at the top. So we're just gonna make a simple little bow. I'm going to start with these loop shapes here for the bottom, and then I'm going to create all the way around. So I'm going to look here. I'm going to create my loop. It's going to come like this. Then I'm going to come this direction, make another loop. Then I'm going to come up, out. When I get to about where it's even with my loop, I'm going to come back around and connect. Okay, so we're going to come out. Oops. And then come back around and touch. Now I'm going to take my eraser and erase whatever might be in there. Open up that space a little bit so I don't get too confused on what's happening there. Okay, and if this eraser was better, I'd use that. Remember, I still haven't solved my problem about finding the right pencil with a right eraser. Okay, I'm going to come right in here. All right, now we need a little stem, and so the stem I thought looked good is if you make it off to an angle, so it's not just straight up. So if you can kind of go ahead and do a little bit of an arch over and in. This end looks great too if you could make this a little bit narrower here, a little bit wider here, and that's just going to give a little bit more character to your stem. Okay, let's do it this way. Out and back. All right, now you can choose what you would like to do tonight, as if you would like to use more pen. Like I didn't use, all I used the pen work on this one was for the lettering. I used a little bit on my sheep face, and the legs is what I used it for. I didn't, and the rest of it is just all pencil. So I didn't add a lot of ink work on here tonight, but the pen work that I am going to be using is going to be the Micron pen. The Micron pen is a permanent archival ink. So if you're going to be doing any type of watercolor over top of it, it's going to stay and it's not going to move around. I'm just going to kind of quickly come in here and erase some of my pencil. Since I'm not going to be doing a lot of ink work, I'm going to erase some of my lines here. Come up to the side and use my big one. These are my favorite larger erasers. This one here, the high polymer Pentel erasers. They don't tend to leave any black marks on your paper, which is nice. And I have to draw darker so you can see it, but if you have a heavy hand, you can really get in there and erase. But the little gum erasers work well too. They're kind of like a rubber kneaded eraser. Those can work well too. I'm going to come in here and use this one. Need to erase some of these lines. Okay. And this is the top of my hill. My other pencil go. I'm going to do this right here. I'm going to go ahead and use my desk vacuum and erase some of this off. And we're going to just pick this up. These little desk vacuums are great for picking up pencil eraser markings. If you don't have one of these, if you just have like a little soft brush to go over the top of it, a little makeup brush works great for that. If you go to the Dollar Tree or whatever and just pick up a soft little makeup brush, that works great for brushing across so that you don't get your pencil smeared so much. Otherwise, it does tend to smear. All I have is this one here. This will work too, be able to go. Now there is a little bit of a path I drew too. So when I drew my path, to make it look like it's dimensional, you want it to be smaller here and then get wider as it comes towards you. And that will just help with the dimension. So I'm going to look here on my little door path. I'm just going to make a little S shape that's going to come back and around and off to the side. So this is going to be narrower here and then get larger as I come towards me. So then that makes it look like there's a path going up. Now, if you want to come in and pop in a few little hills here, just with your pencil marks, you can, to leave those in there. Now I'm ready to go ahead and add a little bit of ink work. So I'm going to come in with my number one. Hello, Kellyanne. Thanks for popping on. And I'm just going to trace over my lettering a little bit. I love these little folk art, whimsical style drawings as well. I'm going to do the same thing with my sheep. So I'm going to come in and do his face nice and black, just a few little tiny ears and a little legs. And that's about it for my ink work tonight. Oh, let's put his little legs in here. There we go. And like I said, you can add as much ink work as you would like. I'm going to put a little horizon line in here too. So I had just looks like there's a little bit of a horizon line. And I did it on the lower end there. All right, let's go ahead and start with our watercolors. So for those who are just new using watercolor, I always say buy what you can afford for watercolor and then work your way into what you can afford. There's a vast prices in watercolor. So just use what you can afford and then build up as you go along. Now this is a little set that I have. This is a Marie's professional grade watercolor. But even when you are starting out, oh, I got watercolor on there, is make yourself a color card because the colors look so differently inside of the box or when they're dry. I did refill some of mine tonight, so they're actually wet and they're even going to look different when they dry inside of my box. But make yourself a color card so you can touch Princeton brush, a round brush. You're going to want to have a nice round brush when you're doing watercolor. You want something that's going to keep a good point. This one is a 6, a 4, you could go down to a 4, but I often use the 6 and the 10 is a real common size that I use. They should last you for a very long time actually. But you want a good point. This has got a nice little bounce in it. It's going to spring back, so you're going to have a nice little bounce with that. It's got a small little belly here, so it's going to hold a little bit more water. So that's what I can recommend for a watercolor brush. Now let's go ahead and start with, I'm going to start with my church. I'm going to take a little bit of my black. My black in this set has a little bit of warmish tone to it. There's not a lot of blue in my black. It has more brown in it. It's a nice warm black. I'm going to actually do this even more watered down than what an ink consistency is. Normally when you're doing your paint, I say mix it to an ink consistency, but I want lighter than that because I'm going to do just a really light gray. How do I back to Facebook? YouTube kept buffering on me. Oh, goodness gracious. So I'm going to just water back. Hopefully the replay will be good on YouTube. So I'm going to really water this down. I'm going to test it on my paper towel to see where I am on my color, and I think that's pretty good. I'm going to start with that color, and then I'm just going to come right on in. Let's move this up to make sure you can see there. Let's come right on there. Hello, Jeannie. Thanks for sprinkling. I so appreciate it. I'm going to use this gray first, and I'm going to go lightly in here. I'm going to do it down this direction. I'm going to come here. This little back section here is going to be darker than my front one. And since that is a little bit darker than what I thought it was going to be, I'm going to add even more water to this and then make it even lighter before I do the little front piece. And then I'm going to come up here and do the little front. Watercolor will dry slightly lighter when it dries, so it will dry slightly lighter. Okay, and then I'm going to stop. I'm going to let that dry and see where we are with that before I go into any other one. Now I'm going to go ahead and pick up a bright color orange because I'm going to do the little pumpkins. When you do watercolor, you want to start light and then work your way darker. So I'm going to come in, add a nice little bright pop of orange first. I'm going to get this. So I'm going to come right on in here, color this in. You can leave a little bit of white. You don't have to color it all in orange. There we go. When you're doing watercolor, it's actually preferable to leave some of those bright spots open of the paper because that will be your brightest whites will be those. Now I'm going to let that dry just a tiny bit. I'm going to pick up a little bit of my green here. This is kind of a sap green. I'm going to put it over here. This was fresh out of the tube tonight, so it's pretty wet. I'm going to come over here and add that on there. And I think I might have to wait a minute because my pumpkins are wet. If I come in here with green and I touch that, that green is going to come right into my pumpkins because watercolor wants to travel where the water is. So that's wet. And if I make this wet, whatever those two colors are wet are going to want to come in together. So I'm going to wait on those. I'm going to pop up and do my trees. So I'm going to start with this little bit of a rusty color, burnt sienna color. It's a beautiful color. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Give that a pop. I'm going to do my trees that color. I'm going to come in and just lay some of that in. I'm going to try to leave a little bit of my white from my background right in there. So I'm going to leave some open spots to be able to add, have that bright white showing through. Pretty. Okay, well, we're waiting for that to dry. Let's go ahead and let's pop in another bit of orange. So let's choose an orange, brighter one. I think I'm going to take a little bit of that color here. Let's add a little bit more to my pumpkins. Might as well work on those while we have them set up. Okay, add a little bit more of that color. That looks nice. I'm going to add just maybe even a little bit of that color that I did the trees into my pumpkins too. So this is going to be kind of a wet on wet look. So I'm just going to let that color just sit and blend together. So I just tapped them in just with the top of my brush to be able to let those colors blend together. All right, since we got those all kind of wet, let's go ahead and maybe work a little bit on the tree trunk. So I'm just going to pick a brown, whatever it might be. It's kind of a reddish brown, and I'm just going to come right on in here, and I'm going to use this color too for the roof line. When I create these little pictures, I like to carry my colors kind of throughout and have not just one area. I'd like to have a little bit of in different areas. So I'm going to come in here and do my roof line this way. So I'm going to paint it in kind of the direction I drew it. So I want to paint my brush strokes that direction. So I wouldn't want to come in this way and do my roof line. Okay, looks good. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit more of this darker gray. Tap here. I'm going to come in and do this door or this bell tower. One side, I'm going to put a darker bit over on the one side. Since I got that brown out, let's go ahead and do the church door. So I'm going to come in here, do a little bit of a church door, right like that. And I'm going to use this color too for the little pathway that leads down in the front of in the front here. Okay, let's let that sit. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit of golden color, like this little yellow ochre color here. This is the color that I'm going to use inside for my windows, like somebody's in there, so I'm going to add a little bit of glow. So I'm going to come right in here and add a little bit of glow to this. This is the color I'm also going to be using for my pear in my background. Okay. Now, if you want to, you can pick up just a real little bit of that very watered down gray. You could tap a little bit in that into your sheep if you would like to add just a little bit of color to them. I'm going to pick up just a little bit more of my gray color here too. And I'm going to tap this out to make sure I don't have too much. And I'm going to add just another layer of gray to this, like a shot. Ooh, that's way too dark. Now, if you lay something down and you're like, whoa, that's way too dark, go ahead and rinse your brush out and then put some clear water, give it a tap, come in and you can lift that color up because that was way too much color. I didn't want that much of a shadow. Okay, pick that up, add a little bit more here. So you can lift some color. I'm going to come right here and add a little bit more. I'm going to add just the tiniest bit over here because I want that front piece to really stand out, like it looks like it's standing out from the building. So I'm just going to add the tiniest bit of shadow in there, just a tiny one. Okay, that looks good. Let's add another little dark layer to my pathway. So I did that red brown. I'm going to switch up to just a little bit more intense brown here. And I'm going to add this. I might even pick up a little bit of my black and add it into there. And then I'm going to come up to the top here. I want this to be darker. And then as it comes forward, it's going to be lighter. You don't want to necessarily cover up all that color you just put on. You want to still see some of it. I'm going to take some of that color too, and I'm going to put it on my door. I'm going to richen. There's that word I say sometimes. It's not really a word. I want to darken up that color and add that next layer. There we go. Put that right in there. Put that on the door handle maybe. Okay, cute, as we say in Painting Crafty. I'm going to go ahead and do a little blue layer on my first part of my bow at the top. I'm going to choose, let's see, I'm going to choose a color that's kind of a brightish blue. I'll tap that. Let's add that into here. Because the reason why I chose blue is because yellow and blue are complementary colors. So I thought that might look good on my bow, is to add that little bit of complementary color in there. Now we know Carrie's watching tonight. She's drawing and painting. We're going to be expecting some purple in her drawings. It's been really a lot of fun to see those people who've shared their drawings over the years and how they develop and how they like to do their things. And we know Miss Carrie loves purple. So we always expect a little bit of purple. If you do one, you can always pop over to my page and add your drawing into the comments underneath the live there. And I'd be happy to share it. I always think it really encourages the others that everybody starts at some different point. Everybody has different ideas. It doesn't have to look like mine to be good. So yeah, share it. I love to share it with everyone because I think you are big encouragers, and you also give ideas for people to be able to draw one. Carrie's laughing, she knows. Okay, let's leave that and see what happens with that. Okay, now maybe let's add some of that green on there that I was saying I wanted to add for my grass. So I'm going to add a little bit of that sapish color green. So I'm going to add some of this on here. Now I didn't want it to be too bright of a color. I'm going to add a green layer. I can even leave some open areas. But I want to come right in and add a little bit more yellow and maybe some brown on here to make the grass more dirty kind of color, not a true bright color is what I'm not looking for. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of that yellow ochre color that I used up at the top there. Oh, that's a lot. A lot more than what I needed. That color is wet. It's brand new out of the tube, so it wants to really be very powerful. When you put a new color like out of the tube and you're going to be putting it in your pan, usually you let it dry at least overnight, depending on how much you have in there. It's probably going to take at least overnight for it to dry down. Okay, that looks good. I'm thinking I'm going to add a little bit of brown into it, so I still want to take that next step down and add just a tiny bit of brown in there too, to give it that more of a fallish feeling to it. Nothing is too bright. Okay, yeah, I like that look. I think that looks good. I'm gonna let that dry and then see what it looks like after it dries, but it's looking lovely. Let's go ahead and choose a little bit of this gold color here, and I've got plenty. I probably have enough to do five pairs. 5 pairs. Definitely going to want to water this down so I have a little bit of option to be able to tweak my colors as I go. And now I'm going to come right in here into the background, and I'm just going to come in here and add my yellow. Try to leave a little bit of open spots here and there. Go over it. Right in here. Now this is the first layer. I'm going to be adding another layer. So the beauty of watercolor is the layering. So you want to give yourself some opportunity and some space to be able to add those additional layers. So by going light, leaving some open space, some white space on there, that's going to allow your painting to develop. And it's the beauty of watercolor, is those translucent layers that you can't, it's totally different than acrylic. So it's, we're working light and then working our way dark. Okay, cool. Now let's pick up another layer. I'm going to do this little rust, this burnt sienna color here. I'm going to do a washy layer of that. Now my background is still pretty wet, but I'm going to let those colors play together. So I'm going to come here and add maybe just a little bit on the outside. I'm not looking for perfect lines. I'm going to add them here and there, and then I'm going to come back in and add another layer of that gold, that goldenish color. Now pears do come in green pears, but I just wanted this to be more of a golden color. Cute. Okay, now I'm going to pick up another layer of that gold and I'm going to put that in there. So I'm going to pop right in here. I'm still doing about tea consistency. And now I'm going to go ahead and put that over the top. So we're kind of adding glazing layers. If true glazing, we would let it all the way dry. But you can see how that's next layer is just adding that real strong interest and more character to my drawing and adds that sophistication look to it. Okay, I really like that. I think that looks good. I think I'm going to stop, let that dry. Don't go any farther. Let's go ahead and pop that stem in. Hi, Miss Mary. Thanks for popping on. I'm going to do that brown, and I should have maybe did that when I was doing the rest of the browns, but I didn't. Let's go ahead and pop a little bit of brown stem in here. There we go. A little bit of rust in there too, just to make it a little darker. Cute. All right, I'm thinking I like that look. Now I'm going to switch to my 10 brush because I'm going to work a little bit on my background. Now, when I did mine originally, I added some metallic stars in the background. I don't know if it really made a difference or not, or if you noticed them very much. I did add a little bit of sprinkling of salt. That's how you get those little starish patterns in there. That's from just table salt that's sprinkled on when your background paint is wet. I really do still like that look, but if you wanted to add some stars in there, which I did not do this time, you could go ahead and add it in there. Does anybody have like a favorite metallic pen that you like to use? I'm thinking I'm going to make my stars a little bigger this time to add into that background. This would look, you could probably use a metallic marker to do your stars in. I used metallic watercolor. I do like metallic watercolor. I think it's beautiful. It shines a lot more than what you think it's going to shine. When it dries, it's very a lot more shinier than what you think it would be. I think I'm going to stick with 5 this time. Now to do the base, I just used black is what I used. I used my black that I had, that I used earlier. So I'm just on the church, I'm just going to use it full strength, more of a full strength. You have to catch the replay. I missed most of it. Yeah, you'll have to catch the replay. Now when I do this part here, I'm going to move my brush back and forth this direction, horizontally is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to fill in my space that way. And then when I get up to my sky area or the background, the other area, I'm going to go up and down this direction. Okay, we're going to move right on in. Tonight we are double streaming to, well, actually we got all kinds of different streams going on, but we're double streaming into Facebook and into YouTube tonight. So you should be able to watch on either platform if it cooperates with you, right? Carrie was saying she was having a issue with YouTube not, it wasn't keeping up, or it was buffering or something. So, but hopefully the replays will be fine so you can watch them on either location. Okay, so there's that one. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix kind of a nice, pretty dark blue. So I'm going to use this color here, Payne's Gray. I'll pop that in there. I'm going to mix it in with my black because I have it all setting there anyway. So it's kind of a blue color. And then I'm going to pop in a little bit of this bright blue like this. I'm going to just have a kind of a pretty black, pretty dark color. Now I'm going to go up and down. Now I'm going to try to go around my stars mostly, because I'm using that metallic watercolor underneath there. It's not opaque. The metallic isn't right away. You'd see underneath there if I put the blue. It's going to shine better if there's white underneath there. So I'm going to try to go around my stars. Now watercolor, like I said earlier, it's going to want to pop into the area that's wet. So if your pear is still wet, when you get this color too close to the back of your pear, if it's too wet, it's going to want to flow right in there. So you might have to give yours a little bit of time to dry before you were to pop in this color. I'm pushing it. I should have probably waited just a little bit more. Now this color is wet here, so this is when I would take my salt. What did I do with my salt? I don't see it right now. I had pulled it out so I could use it, but I don't see it. What did I do with it? Oh dear. Okay, well, we might not use the salt this time. But that is how I did create. Oh, there it is. There it is. I knew I had it here somewhere. So I want to be able to do the salt when it's wet. So I'm just going to sprinkle some of this on here. It won't work when it's dry. So you have to put this on when your color is wet. Okay, we'll put a little bit of that on there. Let's get a little bit more of this. Oops, put it over here. I should have probably mixed a little bit more of this color. I'm thinking I'm going to run out. And then I'm not going to have the same color. Oh well, I'll just be putting another layer on anyway, so I will just have to mix some more color. Okay, let's add a little bit more here. Mix my color quickly. Come up with something. I should have actually had more of that mixed. Okay, we'll try this. See where we get with this color. I do like that salt look, so I'm going to add that on there. A little bit more in here. And you can see right away the salt will start picking up your color and it absorbs it. And that's what's going to make those little star marks in your painting. It's going to create that little pattern in there. That's a beautiful look. It makes a great look. I'll hold this up close so you can kind of see how the salt got darker. It's picking up and it's wicking that color. So that's what I'm just doing. All right, now I have that part done. I'm going to do a little bit more black at the bottom here, on the bottom. Ooh, let's see, I'll mix it here. I'll mix it there. I should have wiped it off a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit more dark black, and I'm going to do another layer here on the base. Because even though it's black, it still dries fairly light. So then I want to have that darker, I want to have that real strong contrast of my pear against a dark background. So I'm going to layer in another shade of black. Normally when I do these, I'm twisting my hand a little bit and changing the direction of my stroke so it's not all the same. And you can leave some of that original color showing too, so it doesn't have to all be gone away. Okay. Now I'm going to try to put another layer of that blue on. I'm going to try to put another layer of the blue on and see if I can't layer that in there and not mess up my black that I just did. Now my salt, I can wait. I should have probably waited to put my salt on too. Okay, we're just going to layer this in there. So my salt is already down. I don't recommend that. I usually recommend putting that on like I should have waited to put that on when I did this layer is what I really should have done. Do an experiment together and see how it turns out. Now the salt you don't remove until it's all the way dry. And then when it's dry, then you can just brush off your salt and it's going to leave those little patterns. So we'll see. Might end up with a mess here. Who knows? I'm going to dry it. I'm going to go ahead and dry it with my hair dryer. Again, I would just let this dry. Normally when I do this, I just let things dry on its own. I don't push it. So you just kind of want your items to dry naturally. Then that'll give that salt some time to work and pick up your color so you don't have it not show. So we're going to try it and see what happens. See, I've got a lot of color. Now if you get messy inside of here, and you got color that's coming into your pear, you can rinse out your brush, take with the clean water, just a little damp brush, and you can come in and kind of tickle that area where your color came in, and you can try to lift that color and reshape that spot. So that one was getting a little messy there, so I'm just going to lift that up. I'm going to try to get a little bit of this here too, because I don't like that blue on that pear, so I'm going to just tickle that surface ever so slightly and see if I can't pick it up. Like so. And this kind of got a little messy here too. I got a little messy tonight with my colors. So you can try to lift some of the color. I have this way. Depends on your paper. It depends on the pigments that you used. It depends. There's a lot of things that kind of come into play, whether or not you're going to be able to lift your color and how much you can lift. But that kind of straightened the lines up a little bit and it doesn't get too diluted of losing my lines. Okay. All right, let's go ahead. It'll be fine. It'll be fine, she says. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dry this fast because I want to be able to show you the metallic watercolor. We'll see. This one was the original one where, and actually, truth be told, this is a mixed media paper. It's not even a watercolor paper, but it still worked. You can come in and you can add more of a shadow too on yours. You can come in and darken it just even more so right around the pear shape. Add another layer of color there and deepen that color up, which is what I did on this one, just to even make it pop more. So, and this one too, I did end up putting a little bit more color over the starred area from the salt. You can see up here, these ones are brighter. That one I didn't go over. But these ones here, I did go over, it just muted that little white background a little bit. So we'll see what happens with this, how this all plays out, how it works out. Okay, we'll let that set just a tiny bit. I think I am going to come in and add a little bit more darker color blue to that area. I'm going to add a little bit more here. Add a little bit more of this color here. Oops, let's add a little bit more here. It's getting kind of dark. Okay, I think I'm going to switch back to my brush too, my bigger brush. Let's come in, add a little bit more blue. Okay, so right next to my pear, I'm going to come in and add just another darker color right up against it. I'm going to add that little bit. I'm going to come in with a little bit of clean water now. So rinse my brush out. This is clean water. And I'm going to come in here and soften this line up and bring that color out. So I'm just going to try to eliminate that line so it's not so strong and drag some of that color out. Stepping the color out. There we go. All right, let's try the other side. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of that color. I'm going to turn it so my hand can be a little bit better where I am. Okay, let's come this way. Let's add a little bit more dark here. Whoops, too much water. Come right on in, add my dark color. Rinse my brush out, kind of a damp brush, and then drag my color out. So I don't have a hard line, but I'm still adding a little bit of a dark shadow. I'm going to do it around my bow too. My stem got a little messy. I got a little carried away with my colors tonight. Okay, a little bit of damp brush here. Let's soften that color a little bit. All right, now let's go ahead and use some metallic color. Let's see if I've got my metallic color. Thought I had it up here. This is just an inexpensive one. It's a Master's Touch metallic color, but they still shine really pretty. It's a fun thing to have and to use. So I like this little set. It's lasted me a long time too. I've had it for quite a long time. I'm going to come in with this little bronzy color here. My brush was still kind of dirty. Let's go ahead and take some of this color out and put that in on my stars. Oops, let's move this way. And over, and let's try. So I'm just going to pop this in. Did we decide that these were Michael's? I think was what we have decided, that these were a Michael's product, the Master's Touch. I'm just going to pop these little stars in, metallic. This would look great too if you want to do a little bit of sprinkling with this color to do a little bit more wet look with it and then sprinkle it on the top. That would be kind of a pretty look too. The metallic would shine beautiful. Add a little bit here. Now the metallic doesn't shine as much until it's dry. And then once it's dry, it really will sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. You know, I look up at in the picture and it always looks different in my picture, my camera, than when it does when I'm looking here. I've got lights shining down, so it's a little hard to see sometimes of what's going on. Okay, let's let that dry and see what happens. I'm going to use my Uniball pen to strengthen up some of my line. I'm going to do a little doodling on my little bow up here at the top. So I'm going to just come in and do a little bit of doodling on here. So I'm just going to pop in some really bright lines and get my pen to work. This one might be getting almost to retirement. This one is. Let's try this one. I bought some different ones. I bought these ones, the Jelly Roll pens. Watched somebody else use these and she had good luck with them. But I'm not 100% sold on those. The ink isn't as bright on those ones. I don't feel. I'm still loving the Uniball pen. It's still one of my favorites to do these little doodle type of things on here. Let's come up here and strengthen this up. Now, that looks good. I'm going to strengthen up my stem just a tiny bit. Put a little bit of darker color on that. And here, kind of lost it. Okay. Okay. And this is when you can decide too if you want to come back in with your pencil and add a little bit more doodling on top of this. So I did a little bit more doodling on my church here. So I came in and I added some batten boards that were coming across to make it look like it was siding. So I came in and added just a little bit of line work on my church with my pencil. Not a real hard line in the background. You can look at your picture here too. Now we do quick sketches on Thursday, and we do a lot of different pencil work. So you can come back in and do a little bit of scribbling on your picture and add some more details around like some of those open spots that you left on your trees. You could doodle them up and add a little bit of extra character there. You can come off to the side here off the pear and you can strengthen this line too. You could do a double sketch line where it's not exactly following all the way around. You can add a little bit of doodle pattern where you add some X's, some O's, some all kinds of different types of patterns. Come in here and add, I'm going to strengthen up some of my lines. I don't mind seeing the pencil work on my pictures as well. And I'm going to just not make these lines so exact and add more of a drawing sketch look to it. And these are all optional things you can do depending on what you want your picture to look like. And I think that looks good. Now once the salt dries, I can take it off to the side here and see if it kind of dries. I don't really want it all over my table. I don't really. That little vacuum is good for picking up salt too. Let's see if I can't get some of this to come off. Because I did do my paint back over top of it, I did kind of soften the blue that was underneath it. It's not as bright, or the white isn't as bright underneath there, but it still looks good. It still looks good. It still looks good. You can add a little bit more doodling. I think I'll take my pen here and maybe do a little bit, if I can get it to write. I'm having issues with finding a pen that's going to write tonight. Let's come here. Let's do a little bit of doodling right up the edges and add a little bit more interest to the edge of my drawing. Bring some of those line work across. And it's just about an hour in, so I try not to keep you any longer than an hour. Okay, here we go. Down we go. Usually somewhere along the line I like to add a heart, so maybe I could do a little one in my white ink right off to the side and add it on there. I think that looks good. I think I might want to strengthen up my cross just a little bit and take my 01 pen and come right in here and strengthen this up. Add a little bit more line work to that. To the top of the church. There. I think that sticks out pretty well, and I think it's just a sweet little darling drawing, and I think it's super cute. If you draw one, you can go ahead and post it on my Facebook page. I'd love to see it and love to share it. For those who would like to maybe join the my Ko-fi page, it's exactly like Patreon, except for it's Ko-fi, and that's where you can find me over there. That's where I include all the tracers for my drawing. If you're just beginning drawing, you'd like a reference photo or something, reference tracer, you can get it there. I like drawing from a reference as well, so I enjoy having a picture. It's very reasonably priced to come on over there and join me. I'd love to have you there. You can pop over there and take a look to see if that might be something you might be interested in. And I will be back. Let's see if I can bring my picture over. Let's switch you up here. We'll switch you up this way. Okay, there we go. I'll be back on Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Time is usually when I go live drawing, and I'll be doing my Quick Sketch Thursday. And Quick Sketch Thursday only happens on YouTube, so you'll be able to find me there live on Thursday if you'd like to. You're welcome, Amber. I'm glad you joined me tonight. Thanks for everyone for popping on, and you have a great evening, and we will see you. Hopefully we'll see you again on Thursday. Thanks for joining, everyone. Bye now.